that differentiating between infectious and non-infectious uveitis is of paramount importance in the diagnosis and management of uveitis. I will take certain clinical clues how you can differentiate between the two. Clinical signs such as hypopyon, sclerouveitis, retinitis, or retinochoroiditis. In these three entities, how do we differentiate between infectious and non-infectious? Let's see. First, we will take hypopyon. Hypopyon uveitis can present in autoimmune and immune-mediated diseases, infectious uveitis, or in masquerade syndrome. Commonly, we see in HLA-B27 associated uveitis or Behçet's disease in autoimmune uveitis, various infective uveitis, and also leptospirosis can present with hypopyon uveitis in South Indian population with large masquerades here in a case of a retinoblastoma. So we will take three entities. In infectious uveitis, secondary endogenous endophthalmitis, the hypopyon will have convex configuration associated with increased reaction in the anterior chamber with the fibrin, with the media haze and the posterior segment involvement. In HLA-B27 associated uveitis, we get sticky hypopyon with fibrin reaction in anterior chamber. In Behçet's disease, we get free and mobile hypopyon. So based on this morphology, we can differentiate between these three entities. We'll see a case example of a 53-year male presented with redness and pain with blurred in the left eye. History of similar episodes is happening on and off for the past 1 year. He gave history of low backache. On examination, we could see the hypopyon uveitis with fibrinous reaction. This is a slit diagram showing the presence of hypopyon with increased reaction. We made the diagnosis of recurrent acute non-granulomatous anterior uveitis with hypopyon. On investigation, he had sclerosis of the sacroiliac joint with HLA-B27 was positive. So this particular patient was put on systemic steroids and systemic immunosuppressive therapy and treated accordingly. The next case is a case of a young female who's about 28 years who presented with hypopyon panuveitis. On systemic evaluation, she had orogenital ulceration. Here you could see the free and mobile hypopyon, multiple yellowish white lesions. It's a multifocal retinitis. This is an immune-mediated multifocal retinitis in a case of a Behçet's disease. She responded well to systemic steroids and cyclosporine therapy. The next case is a 21-year female presented with sudden decrease in vision. She gave history of gastroenteritis, for which she was treated with systemic antibiotics and IV fluid administrations in the rural setting. Subsequently, within few hours, she had decreased vision in both eyes. Here you could see the organized exudates presenting in the form of an hypopyon with granulomatous KPs and fibrinous reaction in the right eye. And also in the left eye here, we could see the kind of a fine to medium-sized deposits with jam-packed cells in the anterior chamber. And posterior segment involvement was also confirmed by the P scan. So she has got bilateral granulomatous panuveitis, most likely secondary to endogenous endophthalmitis was made. On evaluation, she also had increased pus cells in the urine, but however, the culture was negative. She underwent a AC tap, showed KOH and fungal filaments, and also the panfungal genome was positive. So she was treated with intravitreal, initially antibiotics, subsequently antifungal agents with systemic antifungal therapy resulted in resolution of infections and inflammation in this eye. So it is important in this particular case, the IV fluid administration was a clue along with the KPN hypopyon morphology. So many times if we pay attention to the history and the clinical clues can help us to differentiate what could be the probable etiology in these cases. Next is a pigmented hypopyon, which rarely we see. This is commonly described in Listeria monocytogenes infection. It can also present in malignant melanoma, rarely in ocular tuberculosis have been described. We next move on to retinitis, retinochoroiditis. Here we have three different entities, the retinitis secondary to post-fever retinitis. Here you have retinitis lesions. Here is a case of a choroiditis, it's a multifocal choroiditis. Clinically, we make the diagnosis in choroiditis. The lesions are located underneath the retinal vessels. They are ill-defined yellowish white lesions. Whereas in retinitis, you have whitish to yellowish lesions, ill-defined borders, and we cannot make out the retinal vessels. Coming to a case example, a 65-year male, diabetes mellitus, is an hypertensive. He underwent a renal transplant, presented with decreasing vision. He had anterior vitreous cells in the left eye. He was on mycophenolate meftil, systemic steroids, and also tachograph for a post-renal transplant status. This is a fundus photograph showing vitritis with a yellowish white ill-defined retinal lesion suggestive of a retinitis. When you watch carefully, in addition to the retinitis, we could see a pigmented lesion adjacent to the lesion. That gives us a clue. Here you have reactivated lesions adjacent to the area of a pigmented scar. That gives us a clue. Probably it is secondary to toxoplasmosis, even though the patient does not have classical headlight in the fog appearance because of the systemic immunosuppressive therapy and immunocompromised state. So OCT shows the presence of posterior vitreous detachment and full thickness involvement, the opacification affecting the full thickness layer along with the choroidal involvement, suggesting it's a case of retinochoroiditis. On investigation, the patient had significant increase in serological titer of Toxoplasma IgG, and also B1 gene for Toxoplasma was positive. This patient was treated with systemic clindamycin along with continuation of systemic immunosuppressive therapy, resulted in resolving lesion. You can see the completely healed chorioretinal scar. Not to miss such clue such as healed chorioretinal, not to miss the scar, which gave us a clue in this case to suspect toxoplasmosis. Whenever the toxo heals, it forms epiretinal membrane with healed chorioretinal scar cases. So toxoplasmosis, diagnosed based on the clinical presentation of headlight in the fog appearance, most of the times you could see the reactivated active lesions adjacent to the area of the scar or away from the area of the scar. How do we differentiate this from other entities? The next is acute retinal necrosis. Here again, it's a full thickness involvement of the retina with necrosis is seen. Epidemic retinitis, also yellowish lesions. Here we could see the hyperreflectivity in the inner retinal layer with after shadowing with SRF is seen. Dr. Mudit also showed here we could see the lesions coming from the choroid into the outer retinal layer. It's classically described in the case of a Candida endophthalmitis. So based on these features, we can differentiate between the entities. The next comes the choroiditis. Commonly what we see is a tuberculous choroiditis. You could be present in the form of yellowish white lesions underneath the vessels, can be associated with retinal vasculitis, that is scar along the vessels. Can have varied presentations like serpiginous-like choroiditis, subretinal abscess, choroidal tubercle. These are the various morphological variation of tuberculosis. Here is a case of a 45-year female presented with granulomatous panuveitis, where we can see the Koppes and Busarkas nodules, and fundus shows multiple millet-sized choroidal nodules are seen in both eyes. This is classically described in a case of a sarcoidosis. Based on this morphology, sarcoidosis was suspected and chest X-ray revealed bilateral hilar lymphadenopathy, and also biopsy confirmed it's a case of a non-caseating granuloma. Next, we'll move on to the entity sclerouveitis. Can have diffuse or nodular scleritis associated with uveitis. Here is a case of a diffuse anterior scleritis with uveitis secondary to granulomatosis polyangiitis based on associated sinusitis and positive C-ANCA titer. Patient responded well to systemic steroids and systemic immunosuppressive therapy. Here is a case of a multiple nodular unilateral scleritis. Here the patient presents with wood stick injury. You could see the multiple nodular lesions, sometimes could be pus pointing. Incision and drainage revealed it's due to the gram-positive organism, and this patient responded well to topical and systemic antibiotic therapy. So whenever we come across a patient with history of trauma, multiple nodularity with pus pointing lesions, we need to rule out infective scleritis in our setting. To conclude, working on uveitis is like being a detective, putting the unlikely clues together to arrive at the correct diagnosis. Clinical clues helps us to differentiate and non-infectious uveitis. Thank you for your attention. I'll be happy to take any questions.